come back on. Did she rejoin? Okay, she's having some technical issues too. So. All right, and if everyone could mute, I think we'll be ready to start. All right, Mr. Pendleton, Mr. James, you ready?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Rittenhouse, whenever you're ready. Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the Akron Public Schools Board of Education regular meeting for Monday, November 16th, 2020. Roll call, please.
Dr. Akbar?
Here.
Mr. Alexander?
Present.
Ms. Autry?
Here.
Mr. Bravo?
Present.
Dr. Hall?
Aye.
Mrs. Mansfield? Mrs. Mansfield? She's on mute, it says. Mrs. Mansfield, can you hear me?
I can now. Sorry, my computer's being glitchy. I'm here.
Okay, thank you. And Mrs. McKittrick?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. And for those of you joining us tonight for our meeting, this board has a long tradition of ensuring that our students are seen as emerging leaders and have every opportunity to be engaged and to be heard. In 2018, our board invited its first class of student representatives to serve alongside our board members. Each of them represent a different cluster and each have the opportunity to serve this board while also being mentored by its members and its staff and learning about what it takes to govern a district like Akron Public Schools. And along the way, they get some leadership training and experience. So we'll have the opportunity to introduce our student representatives to the board who are on the meeting with us tonight in just a few moments. But first I want to introduce Kyrese Brunson. Is Kyrese with us?
Yeah, I am.
Thank you, Kyrese. I'm going to introduce Kyrese Brunson, who is a 12th grader from East CLC, and he is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So if everyone could please mute your microphones, except for Kyrese. Kyrese, whenever you're ready to go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Kyrese. I appreciate that. And that leads us into the introduction of our new school board members. As I said before, we have a long history of really engaging students and being thoughtful about that. And a few years ago, we invited several members of the student body to join us as student representatives to the Board of Education. And this year, finally, we welcome them back. So welcome back to all of you. We're so grateful that you are able to join us this evening. Despite everything that's going on and despite the storm from yesterday and the power outages that many folks, including our board members, are still experiencing across the city tonight. So we're glad to have you. We look forward to mentoring you this year as best we can through this COVID crisis, spending some time getting to know you and you getting to know us and a little bit more about your district. I believe I'm going to turn this over to Ms. Whitfield, who is going to help introduce all of our members. And then we do have the oath of office for 4 new members. As you know, we had 4 seniors that graduated last year. And so those students have been replaced by other students who are now taking their place amongst their fellow student board members. And so Mrs. Whitfield, I'd like to turn it over to you at this time.
Good evening, and we're going to have our students introduce themselves, and they're just going to go in order alphabetically, and we're going to start with Chandler.
Hello, my name is Chandler Forshee. I'm a senior, and I'm also a student athlete at Kenmore Garfield High School, and I wrestle and play soccer.
Our next student is Abigail.
Hi, my name is Abigail, but you can call me Abby. I'm a sophomore at Elliott, and I'm an honors student, and I also like to cook.
Our next student is DeEssence Jackson.
Hi, my name is DeEssence Jackson. I'm from Brookdale and I'm a sophomore. One of my biggest achievements is being in the NAACP youth program.
Our next student is Kyrese.
Hi, I'm Kyrese Brunson. I'm a senior at East, and I'm heavily involved in music, and I'm planning a future heavily revolved around music as well.
Our next student is Michaela. It seems like Michaela may be experiencing some technical difficulties. We're going to come back to Michaela. We're going to go on to Madison.
Hi, my name is Madison Deese. I'm a junior at Firestone and I'm a student athlete who plays softball and runs cross country.
Hi, my name is Salam Saeed, and I attend Akron College High School, so I'm a junior over there. And one of my biggest achievements is I'm almost done finishing my associate's degree.
Shaheen, you're still on mute.
Hello? I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Shaheen. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Shaheen Williams. I'm a 12th grader at STEM High School. I'm a very curious person. I love learning, and I am honored to be a part of this. Thank you.
And I see Michaela is back. Michaela, please introduce yourself.
I'm Michaela Perryman. I'm a senior at North High School. I like to draw and I run track.
And at this time, I believe the students will take the oath, the new students who are coming aboard.
You're muted, Mr. Bravo.
Happens to the best of us, doesn't it? All right. Yes, we do have 4 new board members. Thank you, Mrs. Whitfield, and thank you to all the student board members again for jumping in and introducing yourselves. 4 of our student representatives are joining us for the first time this year, and so they'll be sworn in. That's Abigail Kearns, a 10th grader at Ellett, Michaela Perryman, 12th grader from North, Madison Deese, an 11th grade student from Firestone, and Shaheen Williams, a 12th grade student from STEM High School. If you could all raise your right hands. I am going to read you the oath of office. Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Ohio, and that you will faithfully serve as a student representative of the Board of Education of the Akron City School District, Summit County, Ohio, to the best of your ability, advising the Board of Education on matters in the best interest of all students in the Akron Public Schools, and working collaboratively with board members and administration to improve student engagement and achieve a better overall experience for all students? If so, say I do.
I do.
I do.
Congratulations and welcome to the board. Thank you for joining us. All right, we have a robust agenda tonight, so we are going to be efficient and move on to our next item of business. Item 1.4, our community and school reflections. Are there board members that would like to share? And because we have so many people on the call and I may not see you if you raise your hand, please let me know in the chat as well if you do. Ms. McKittrick?
Thank you, Mr. Bravo. On Tuesday the 10th, I had the opportunity to sit in on a panel discussion called Finding the Gold Within, and it's based on a film of the same name. And this film follows 6 young Black males for 3.5 years, and all 6 of them participated in the Alchemy Youth Program for 7 years. Alchemy is a nonprofit that tries to develop in urban Black males a sense of personal purpose, in order for them to thrive in not just their families and communities, but in the world. And they do this through programs and activities and workshops that help to nurture self-image, self-esteem, and their educational aspirations. And it's done very uniquely through the telling of myths and fairy tales to the beat of an African drum, and then through discussions and interpretation of these diverse myths and fairy tales, lessons such as perseverance and sacrifice, and even not being too proud to ask for help, are gleaned through the foibles, the strengths, and the struggles of the myth and fairy tale heroes. And so I want to thank the Bookdole education professions and leadership and Kent State University for their presentation. And just one other short little thing, I want to take a moment to thank the APS food service staff. Since the shutdown in March, they've prepared, packaged, and distributed 1.3 million meals, 1.3 million for Akron's children, whether or not they're APS students. So my heartfelt gratitude for all they continue to do to feed our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. McKittrick. Any other of our board members would like to say something for community and school reflection? Ms. Autry?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to also mention, I believe Alchemy was also recognized by former First Lady Michelle Obama as well. So that is an awesome program that we have that our students have been able to take advantage of. And then I just wanted to give a special shout out to Bookdole PTA, who received a national PTA grant for $1,500 for advancing diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I'm just happy that they are still going strong over there with that grant. And just a special thank you to all of the students, board members, and a welcome. And it's just really nice to see your faces and have you here.
Thank you, Ms. Autry. Mrs. Mansfield?
Good evening, everyone. It is nice to have the students there. I wish we were seeing you in person. I can't believe the ones that we know how much you've grown. Stop it. And you look great and you sound great. So it's good to see you. Just want to give a few thank yous. Got invited by North High School to give a thanks to First Serve in a celebration call. They surprised the First Serve folks from Hudson, who have been doing so much work on North Hill, by saying they needed help with a grant, and got them on the call. And of course they showed up for that. If we'd have said we were going to recognize them, they probably wouldn't have. But got to be on that call with their council person, and also all the principals from the North Hill cluster were on, who'd gotten help from First Serve. So big thanks for that nice surprise and for all the work that's being done. If you haven't been over to see, even if you just go and drive by and see the sidewalk at North High School, it's worth the trip. So gave thanks on behalf of the board, and also our Viking alumni group that are on the board. So had to throw that in there. You know, we always do. And then also a shout out to some of our students who were able to work the polls for the election. It was an amazing, difficult time and day to get through. It's a long day, but I saw a few posts out there, and I just want to give a shout out to those who were able to do that. And also to OSBA for the Capitol Conference. I was slightly skeptical on how that was going to be. I still have a few sessions I'd like to go on to, and those board members who haven't had a chance, you can still do that. Some really great ones. I did get to see our own Ryan Pendleton present on vouchers. Represented Akron so well. So my hesitation is not because it wasn't fantastic. It's just so frustrating to hear all that. So thanks, Ryan, for giving us the hard truth that we had to hear in that presentation. And also just want to give Ryan an additional shout out. Couldn't be prouder of the work that you've done on the school finance and the bill that's before that was reintroduced, and now with all the bipartisan support that it has. And thank you for your leadership in that, and for making Akron shine, and for all you do for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Akbar and then Mr. Alexander.
Yes. I've talked to a few parents, and I just wanted to say publicly, I did have a chance to talk to a few parents who were really pleased with our decision to do virtual learning and continue it in light of some things that happened in their family recently. And I just wanted to say to this board and to our students, lovely students who are here, that, you know, we continue to make difficult decisions, but we put each and every one of you and our staff and teachers first. And so I just want to thank that parent for reaching out and sharing their personal story. And you know, as we continue to assess everything that's happening, we know that none of it is going to be easy or the ideal situation until we get to a point where this virus is contained. I want to echo what Ms. Mansfield said just really quickly about the election, and so many young people being out to help is very inspiring to see that people are taking their civic duty, you know, being a part of their community and showing just their civic duty to help people with their election. That's really inspiring. And the last thing, there's the racial equity task force for the city. I want to just shout out Bruce for chairing the education committee. Mr. Alexander, I'm sorry, but he is co-chairing the education committee, and we'll be meeting soon. But I'm really excited about continuing the work on racial equity and connecting that to the city's broader goals. And so I just want to thank Mr. Alexander for leading that effort. Thank you. Oh, sorry. I want to shout out Ryan too. Great work with the fair funding bill. I couldn't leave it alone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Way to represent.
Thank you. Mr. Alexander.
Yes, a lot has been said already, and I'm just going to kind of be real brief. First of all, I do want to welcome our student representatives. Those who were here last year, welcome back. And those of you who are coming this year, welcome. And we look forward to hearing good things from you all. We love to have our student representatives represent the students of Akron Public Schools and to work alongside of us to give us some ideas and your thoughts as to where you think the school district should go and what would be best for all of you. So welcome to all of you. Again, as everyone has said, Mr. Pendleton, I was shouting and jumping up and down, and I was kind of listening to part of, because I was in my car because I was doing several different things, but I was proud, very proud of you. You represented Akron very, very well. What you were representing, what you were presenting was very good, but also how you intertwined and were able to throw Akron in there and talk about Akron and how the things that we do and how some of the funding could hurt us in a negative manner, but also given all the examples and so forth. And I thought that was very, very good. So appreciate you for that very, very much. You're doing a great job down there, and we're proud to have you as our CFO. Also, again, a shout out to as well, Alchemy Incorporated develop these young men. I've been around watching Alchemy for a number of years, actually since its inception, and just see how it has grown and how it's developed and how the young men just develop and grow into very good, positive young men who are role models and even come back to the program to give back and participate there. And if it wouldn't be, it wouldn't be a program if it wasn't for their leader and his Scruggs, who has done a very good job, who had the vision to have alchemy and to bring it to a fruition. But so we're glad to have individuals such as alchemy and Dr. Scruggs to be part of Akron Public Schools to help work with our students and help our students to shine and be bright and shiny stars. And I want to thank everyone who participated in the Ohio School Board Capital Conference. There were a lot of good sessions. I'm not going to go into all of them, but there were a number of sessions that I attended. Some of us who were the administration as well as board members were in some of the same sessions. I think there's a lot of information, some good speakers, and for it to be a virtual conference, it was very good, especially being the first one. And so I thought it was very, very good. I would love to see us, as time moves on, if we can, to even get maybe at least one day where we can get our student representatives to travel to Columbus as well, to be able to participate in the Capitol Conference, to see what it's like, see what board members do, what the administrators do, and how we all work together for public education for all students in the state of Ohio. So I'd love to see that happen sometime. So with that, I want to thank everybody, and that's all I have to say. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Alexander. Seeing no one else lined up.
Mr. President.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. You can't chat with me. Thank you, Dr. Hall. Go ahead.
No worries. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I just wanted to, I'm not going to repeat what's already been said because you've all said it better than I could have. Suffice to say that I did work the polls on election day and was amazed at the number of APS students and families that were out there. There were a number of folks who, young men and women who had just recently turned 18 and made sure that they were registered on time, were out there voting for the first time, and to see that excitement on their faces, I was very excited to be able to give them their sticker saying I voted today. And so seeing democracy in action is always something that kind of raises goosebumps on my flesh, that's for sure. And then secondly, just again, want to welcome the student school board members. Those of us who came on in January, came in halfway through last year, and so we weren't around when you all first started. So I'm super excited to kind of see this process as it begins anew for many of you. And to my guy Chandler over at Kimmer Garfield, looking forward to year number 2. All right, thanks everybody, appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Hall. And yeah, as Dr. Hall kind of mentioned, each of our student representatives to the board, for those of you watching the meeting and joining us tonight, each of our student representatives are paired with a board member. And so we will be reaching out to you in short order to start to get to know you a little better. And I'm sure we'll be popping into some of your online sessions as well. Seeing no one else from our board lined up, I do want to give a chance to any of our student board members that might have some community or school reflections. So is there anyone else that would like to say something? Chandler, Mr. Forshee.
I would like to say on behalf of the student board members, new and returning, I hope everyone has a great Thanksgiving, and we'd like to wish good health upon all of our APS students, their parents, and our wonderful staff, because everyone's working so hard lately and working through all of it together. And it's great to see, even though we all might not like it, we're making it work. So we appreciate your time and the opportunity from all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Forshee. Anyone else? All right, hearing and seeing none, we are going to move to the next item on our agenda, which is item 1.5, request to address the board. And we do have one request this evening from Mr. William Reynolds. Mr. Reynolds, you and I spoke just before the meeting. You have 3 minutes to address the board. Mr. Pendleton will help keep time, and I'll let you know when you have 1 minute left. You can begin whenever you're ready.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. One thing I want to do before I say anything, I want to say to the student representatives, I appreciate that you guys are getting involved. When I was in high school, I was very involved in student leadership, and I learned invaluable lessons from that. So congratulations on being willing to be involved. I wanted to speak a little more about the thing that's on everyone's mind, getting back in the classrooms. I do want to call out my appreciation to Valerie McKirtrick. I know I butchered your last name. I apologize. A few weeks ago, I called each of the school board members, and she is the only one that called me back. And I've been following a lot of what's been said. I've been sitting through the 4+ hour meetings with you guys here at home. And I appreciate everything you are doing. I have heard something that seemed to tone in the background of quite a few members at the last meeting. A lot of people, a lot of the community, and I believe people on the board want a plan to get back in the classrooms. These taking one marking period at a time, it isn't working. I know some of the programs for my kindergarten children after school are not working because they're tired of being online. They can't sit through another half hour of being online. So I encourage you guys to concentrate and think on what needs to be done to get back into the classroom. I was kind of disturbed last meeting, a day or two afterwards, a parent started a petition online. And APS responded, but APS's response was, don't use our logo, cease and desist due to our logo. And I find that ridiculous. There are a lot of parents who want to know what the plan is. There are a lot of parents who understand there are some in our community that don't want to be back in class for various reasons. Some of them health concerns and some of them other concerns. The way you can make pretty much everyone happy is if you offer a back in school model, in the building model, but keep the virtual model as an option for anyone who needs it for any reason, whatever it is.
1 minute.
I'm not saying that, there's nefarious reasoning on not wanting to go back to school, but this is ridiculous. I've gotten so much feedback from parents who feel like they're not being listened to. And you know what? Whatever your decisions are, parents need to feel like they're listened to. And I'm along with that group. I feel like I'm not really listened to. So I encourage you to think of the students and come up with a plan. Like someone said at the last meeting, give us benchmarks of what you want for us to be back in school. Even our governor has admitted that COVID isn't spreading in the school. It can, but it isn't. So I encourage you guys to think about that, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Reynolds. I appreciate that. And I do apologize. I just checked and I don't have any voicemails from you. If you could send me an email with your number, I'd be happy to get back in touch with you. I'm not seeing any voicemails, and they usually dump into our email. So if you could just maybe show me.
It was about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Sure, that would not be a problem.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. President, I don't think I have one either. I just did a search and it doesn't come up. Unless it comes up under a different name.
Yeah, I think we're all at Philip.
It would be under William Reynolds or Bill Reynolds.
Okay.
If you send me an email, I'll get your contact information out to the rest of the board.
Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome. Thank you. And thank you for joining us this evening. All right. for recognitions, at this time, I would like to turn it over to our athletic director, Mr. Joe Vassalotti, for a recognition for one of our cross-country student athletes.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for the time, and thank you in general, before we recognize our one fall student athlete, thank you in general for the opportunity for our student athletes to compete in fall sports. We felt it was largely successful and very beneficial for them. To wrap up fall sports quickly, just to recognize our team successes, our team champions in the city. The winners were Firestone girls tennis, Ellet volleyball in the championship match, and Firestone volleyball in the regular season. Bookdale football, Ellet girls soccer, Firestone boys soccer, and Firestone girls and boys cross country. And speaking of Firestone boys cross country, our special honoree tonight is senior Clay Peets, Firestone boys cross country runner and city champion, two-time city champion, I might add. Clay, in fact, improved his time from last year's 2019 championship in the city by 37 seconds this year at Goodyear Park. So that was very impressive on its own. This season, he continuously set and broke his own school record at Firestone as the season progressed. But the culminating achievement was him qualifying for the state meet in Columbus, and not only qualifying, but ended up finishing all Ohio, and only the top 30 runners in a race of over 100 runners are accorded that honor. So congratulations to Clay. In fact, he ran a time of 15 minutes, 55 seconds, 55.5 seconds, which makes me tired just saying that. That's 3.1 miles, so that's one heck of a pace. It was a warm day in Columbus, but he hung in there and earned all Ohio. And I don't think Clay was able to join us. He has been under the weather. Clay, if you're out there, please chime in. But he had,
Crazy, but I thought I saw him on earlier, and then I think he might have dropped off.
Okay. I know he's very appreciative. In speaking with his coach, Coach Varner at Firestone, Clay's very appreciative of the board recognition. He does have a 3.96 GPA overall, so that's not too shabby. And I know in the future he's going to do great things after his high school career, both as a student in academics and if he continues to pursue cross country. So again, we want to thank the board for recognizing Clay. It was the first time in 41 years that Firestone boys cross country had an all Ohio runner. So a very special accomplishment for Clay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vassalotti. We appreciate that, and congratulations to Clay Peets. What an outstanding.
Hey, Mr. President?
Yes.
Mr. President, this is Dr. Just a quick question for Mr. Vassalotti. So Clay, as I recall, all Ohio, that is what? That's top 60 in the state?
It is actually top 30 in the Division I race, which I believe included 150 boys. I might be a little off there, but it was well into the 100s. So they take the top 30 as all Ohio. And he, I believe, set a personal record again with that time of 15 minutes, 55.5 seconds.
Roger that. Yeah, because I was following that pretty closely, which is why I was wanting to confirm. But there's literally, thousands of cross-country runners in Ohio. So for him to, be so honored, that was super, super impressive. So thanks for calling him out again tonight.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. At this time, too, I want to turn it over to our Instructional Policy and Student Achievement Committee for mention of the EverFi Award.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening again, everyone. The Instructional Policy and Student Achievement Committee learned of the EverFi Champion District Award for 2020, and we have invited Superintendent James and Chief Academic Officer McWilliams-Woods to share a short video about the award with our entire board. Take it away.
I think that screen may have frozen.
Maybe she's going to try it again.
Let me share my screen and give you information about the EverFi Champion District Award. The Akron Public Schools has been awarded the EverFi 2020 Champion District Seal. The Champion Seal honors school districts meeting high standards for student wellness and whole child education and serves as a signal for this commitment to their communities. Akron's long-standing relationship with EverFi is a significant reason why APS teachers and students have successfully completed programs that deepen their understanding of difficult content. EverFi works with more than 3,500 organizations to provide critical skills to learners through scalable digital learning platforms. We use EverFi to provide our students with the tools to address some of life's most difficult topics, such as prescription drug safety, financial education, digital citizenship, and STEM career readiness. EverFi resources come to us at no cost through the generous donation of community partners. In 2012, the Akron Public School Department Social Studies Department started using EverFi's online financial literacy course. By 2014, EverFi's financial literacy was integrated into the APS Social Studies course as a curriculum solution to support the Ohio Revised Code requirement that all students receive financial literacy before graduating. In the fall of 2018, EverFi's prescription abuse program was integrated into Akron's health courses to align with House Bill 367. EverFi opioid abuse prevention coursework materials were used to support Rachel's Angels and our health courses. Use of these EverFi materials continues to grow from 8 to 16 schools, from 19 to 49 teachers, to over 3,500 students, and from 4,000 hours to almost 17,000 hours. As the data on the chart demonstrates, prior to the financial literacy course, students demonstrated a limited understanding of knowledge and key concepts. After the course, students essentially doubled their understanding of financial literacy. This is significant because financial literacy creates opportunities for students around budgeting and savings, understanding credit, and navigating their financial futures to help them prepare for college and other career opportunities. Beyond the data, further evidence of the effectiveness of EverFi modules are found in testimonials from our students and teachers. And a special thank you to District Learning Specialists Adam Motter and Dr. Katrina Halassa for working with dedicated teachers who have embraced new technology, the new technology that sometimes works seamlessly and other times does not, but new technology to bring the EverFi solutions to our students. So as a result of the leadership of this board, this superintendent, and the district under Dr. McWilliams-Woods, we are proud to announce the EverFi Champion District Award to Akron Public Schools.
Congratulations. Thank you so much. Anyone else from the committee want to share something? Okay. All right.
Bravo. I'll just share there's just a few more statistics, and if any board member would like to see these, we'd be happy to share them. Just to kind of summarize, the EverFi team and there is a team of subject matter experts and curriculum designers established to follow a criteria that we must meet to earn the K-12 champion seal. So we're really excited, and I just can't say enough how great it is to recognize our specialists in Adam Motter and in Katrina Halassa. It's one of the things that we like to do best is to recognize the hard work of our staff. So any other details that anyone would need, we have those available to you.
Great, thank you so much. And I apologize for the delay. Congratulations to everyone involved. Thank you so much for the work that you put into this. We appreciate it, and the recognition is definitely worth mentioning tonight. So thanks for taking the time to share it with us. We appreciate it. I also just want to go backwards for 1 second. As we were hearing the presentation, Mr. Keats sent me a message. He was on the meeting, but he did get kicked off due to some internet issues. So he asked if I would share that he is thankful for the Board of Education for allowing us athletes to compete this fall. Our team personally made the worst of it, and I hope that other teams did as well. Also, I'm extremely thankful for running for Firestone. And within APS, the last 4 years, I made great memories and met great people connected to Akron Public Schools and couldn't have asked for a better experience. So again, congratulations to Mr. Peets as well on his run. And sorry he wasn't able to join us to be recognized this evening. Our last recognition this evening is not on the agenda, but we did want to take a moment and this time, I'm going to hand it over to Ms. Kathy McFarland from the Ohio School Boards Association, who has a special recognition for us this evening. Ms. McFarland.
Hi, thank you, and good evening, everyone. I'm Kathy McFarland, and I'm the Deputy Executive Director at the Ohio School Board Association. For those of you who don't know us, we are a private, non-for-profit association that represents 711 public school boards across Ohio. And we are currently in our 65th year of existence. Thank you for the privilege to be with you this evening. Today, hard work and commitment to excellence often goes unrecognized. That should not be the case, and that's why I'm here today. OSBA is governed by volunteers. These are board members from across Ohio who were selected by their peers to lead. They are truly the leaders of leaders. Everything we do is directed by this group of dedicated individuals. Our training, our legislative beliefs, our services are all based on the vision of these leaders. We are fortunate that Akron City has shared one of your own with the state. Tonight, I'd like to say thank you to Bruce Alexander. Mr. Alexander served this community as a member of its school board for 11 years. What you may not know is, in his 11 years of service on behalf of the children in Akron City, he has served you as board president, board vice president, legislative liaison, and student achievement liaison. He has provided leadership to the state of Ohio through a tireless commitment to our Credentials Committee, the OSBA Black Caucus, Northeast Region Executive Committee, Urban Network, and Board of Trustees. He has been active at the national level, serving on Ohio's Federal Relations Network and the National Council of Black School Board Members. And he has been dedicated to self-improvement during this time by attending countless town halls, legislative conferences, the NSBA Annual Conference, the OSBA Capital Conference, and much, much more. Communities large and small are faced with ever-increasing educational challenges. The way schools respond affect not only the life of every student, but the growth and the future of the community and the state of Ohio. This responsibility placed squarely on the shoulders of the men and women who serve on our school boards throughout America. The responsibility has been exemplified, by leaders like Bruce Alexander. Mr. Alexander, we are indeed indebted to your service and extend the gratitude of 3,500 school board members and the communities they serve. On behalf of the OSBA officers, trustees, membership, and staff, we'd like to present you with this token of appreciation, which was put in the mail today. You'll be getting it tomorrow. We also want to thank the Akron City Board of Education for all of their support to Mr. Alexander. First sharing him with OSBA Northeast Region, and now supporting him as he works on behalf of nearly 1.7 million students in our schools at the state level. I am proud to present you with a plaque that's also in the mail that you'll get tomorrow. Thank you again for this opportunity to be a part of your program tonight. And if there's anything OSBA can do, please make sure you give us a call. And congratulations, Mr. Alexander, and thank you.
Congratulations, Bruce. Well-deserved, very well-deserved. Thank you so much for your service. Did you want to say anything or add anything?
Well, I want to say thank you to my fellow board members and past board members, superintendents, all of the cabinet and all the teachers here in Akron Public Schools. But I really don't know what to say because I wasn't looking for anything like this here, and it's just the work that you do. But I just want to say thank you to everybody. Thank you for OSBA for all that you've done for all of us, and we want to continue the relationship we have so we continue to reap the benefits that you guys have, and we can share from our district of what our school board members have to provide for all of you as well. So thank you, and tell everyone I said thank you very much.
I will, and thank you for letting me join you, and thank you for giving me just a taste of your students. They look wonderful, they were so well spoken, and that's really exciting to have young leaders in your community. So good for you, I commend you. Have a wonderful evening, everyone, and good night.
Thank you, Ms. McFarland. Have a good night. All right, at this time, we will move to the business portion of our meeting with beginning with our approval of the previous meeting minutes, our regular meeting from October 26th, our special meetings from November 2nd and November 11th, and we will entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion from Mrs. McKittrick, a second from Ms. Autry. Any comments, questions, or discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Dr. Akbar?
Yes.
Mr. Alexander?
Yes.
Ms. Autry?
Yes.
Mr. Bravo?
Yes.
Dr. Hall?
Aye.
Mrs. Mansfield?
Yes.
Mrs. McKittrick?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, superintendent's recommendations, personnel.
There we go. Mr. President, I wish to recommend approval of the personnel recommendations presented in categories 5 through 16.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Ms. Mansfield, a second from Dr. Akbar on the personnel recommendations. Any comments, questions, or discussions on personnel? Hearing and seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Alexander?
Yes.
Ms. Autry?
Yes.
Mr. Bravo?
Yes.
Dr. Hall?
Aye.
Mrs. Mansfield?
Yes.
Mrs. McKittrick?
Yes.
Dr. Akbar?
Yes.
Thank you.
Next, Mr. President, I recommend approval of the resolutions and motions presented in category 21. And before taking a motion in resolution 21.6, again, those are items for college and career academies where we may need to have small groups of students come in, particularly for work in our career tech labs. And then also for fine arts, allowing some of our students to be able to practice, and there are, we've had some requests from some of our music groups to allow that. And there are special guidelines for practices of our bands and orchestras. They have to be in much larger spaces because they have to be socially distant more than 6 feet. And then in resolution 21.7, it's Ohio High School Athletic Association put out guidelines for the start of conditioning for spring sports. And that isn't authorizing spring sports, it's authorizing the conditioning. So for instance, some students may need to use our weight rooms. We already have guidelines for those. I believe it was Mr. Alexander who had a question about that earlier. Depending on the size of our weight rooms, we will curtail the number of people who can be in there, like we've done for fall sports and winter sports. The other thing is that these will all be contingent upon any other guidelines that come out from the Ohio High School Athletic Association and or the health department and or the governor's office. Tomorrow I'm on a phone call with a group of mayors, health directors in the governor's office, and we'll see if we get any updates regarding the direction that we need to take. But those are my comments about the consent agenda, Mr. President.
Thank you. We'll entertain a motion and then any questions or discussion. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Mrs. Mansfield, a second from Dr. Akbar. Any comments, questions, or discussion? Hearing and seeing none, roll call, please.
Ms. Autry,
Yes.
Mr. Bravo,
Yes.
Dr. Hall,
Aye.
Mrs. Mansfield,
Yes.
Mrs. McKittrick,
No.
Dr. Akbar. I'm sorry, Mr.
Yes.
Alexander.
Who was that?
Mr. Alexander.
Yeah.
And Dr. Akbar.
Yes.
Sorry about that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Mr. President, I wish to recommend approval of the business affairs recommendations presented in category 23.
Thank you. Do we have a motion on the business affairs recommendations?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion from Mrs. McKittrick, a second from Mr. Alexander. Any comments, questions, or discussion on business affairs? Ms. Autry?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I just had a question about item 23.1. I was just wondering if anyone could expound a little bit more on what Rise Up vouchers are exactly.
Dr. James, would you like me to answer that?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
This is one of the industry credentials that students can earn. It is a part of the retail industry that teaches all of the skills with the customer service and within the retail industry. So there's actual preparation, and then and this is straight from the industry. These aren't our credentials or the State Department of Education. These are industry developed assessments that students have to go through to earn that credential. Mrs. Tecca can give us more detail if you'd like to hear more. And it might actually be good at some point for us to send you the full list of all the industry credentials, because they keep adding them with descriptions of each one, because it's fascinating the different areas that our students are now tapping into for the credentials.
That's a great question. Thank you. Ms. Autry, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, so is it actually the part of the training or the tests or that we're paying for to get those credentials, or the curriculum? I guess I'm just trying to get a better idea of what the $200,000 is paying for.
Mrs. Tecca, do you want to break down the actual expense?
I can get you more exact numbers, Mrs. Autry, but what we use the Rise Up industry credentials is for a multitude of pathways across the city. So most of the students that are in a business, entrepreneurship, or marketing pathway as well as for students that need a senior-only pathway to earn their high school diploma. The Rise Up credentials meet those requirements. So that amount of money that you see within that board requisition is for both the preparation of students as well as the assessment and the industry credential, both together.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Autry. Any other comments, questions, or discussion on business affairs? Hearing and seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Bravo?
Yes.
Dr. Hall?
Aye.
Mrs. Mansfield?
Yes.
Mrs. McKittrick?
Yes.
Dr. Akbar?
Yes.
Mr. Alexander?
Yes.
Ms. Autry?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Superintendent's report.
Mr. President, I'll cede my time to Dr. McWilliams-Woods under instructional policy and student achievement.
Thank you. For President's report, I just want to mention very quickly, I also had it on my notes. We must have all been kind of thinking the same thing. Wanted to just say a quick thank you to Mr. Pendleton for all the work that he's done around House Bill 305 and its companion Senate bill. There's been a flurry of activity recently, and we've seen additional co-sponsors added, and this is great news. It's, as all of you know, it's the closest we've come in recent history to maybe taking a giant leap towards solving the school funding issue in Ohio. I know Mr. Pendleton is going to be reaching out to us to help lobby for the passage of those bills, and so we'll be needing to get on the phone and get on our email and try and support that as best we can. So thank you, Mr. Pendleton, for all the work that you've done in that area. We appreciate it, and it certainly does not go unnoticed.
Thank you.
Also had a great time at the OSBA Capital Conference this year. I too was a little hesitant. We've all done probably a lot of virtual meetings and events and conferences and seminars and webinars, and I mean, everything's virtual these days, so I was curious to see how it would run. It was very efficient, very convenient to be able to attend it virtually. I hope maybe even in the future that there are some options around virtual opportunities, a few more virtual opportunities like that. It was really well done for a conference that's normally the size that it is. So had a great time, attended several good sessions, but I won't go into them here just for the sake of brevity. For our superintendent search, I just wanted to remind our board members, if you haven't had a chance, I think we're still missing a couple of responses to the survey that I sent out last week. If you could just let me know your preference or your availability on those dates to continue our discussion. The next meeting, we will actually be a planning session with our consultant from OSBA, and he'll be sending out an agenda ahead of time, but we will be talking largely about the search process itself and the timeline for the remaining action items or the steps that we need to take in order to get that position posted. And so we're looking at a couple of dates next week and one the following week. So again, if you haven't had a chance to respond, if you could please let me know, then hopefully I can get back to them tomorrow and then get back to you with the final date. And just a reminder, at the end of this meeting, then we will also be finishing and wrapping up our evaluations for the year. We'll be completing our in-person conference for the treasurer's evaluation. So if you get a chance while we're in this meeting, you may want to pull up that that evaluation just so you have it ready to go in executive session. And with that, treasurer's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to share a few slides as it relates to the Fair School Funding Plan. Does everybody see the Fair School Funding Plan slide up?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, it's been a flurry of activity over the last few weeks regarding substitute House Bill 305, which had a committee vote to become actually a substitute bill last week. And then the Senate companion bill 376 a week ago Friday. So it's been a flurry of activity to include tomorrow's testimony, Wednesday's and Thursday's testimony in both the House and the Senate. So I want to give you just a quick overview, a few slides walk through, make sure that the board knows where we are in this process. And then there's an ask. There's an ask going out across the state of Ohio over the past few days. And as of right now, a count that this is the presentation that I gave on Friday for the state of Ohio. And as between Friday and this morning, we have 322 districts signed on to support the Fair School Funding Plan. So imagine in 48 business hours, imagine in another week what we're going to be able to share with the General Assembly. And if you, hopefully, just somebody validate you're seeing the legislators slide on the page.
Yes, we can see that.
Okay, great. I'll go through a couple slides here, and a special thanks to Senator Vernon Sykes from Akron in co-sponsoring this with Senator Peggy Lehner in the Senate. They've been true leaders in the education space. We thank them from the bottom of our hearts. Representative John Patterson, Gary Scheer, and now Speaker Cupp are the architects of the original bill. I've gotten to know Representative Patterson, Scheer, and Cupp over these past few years, and they are completely dedicated to this cause. Representative Patterson is term limited, Gary Scheer is term limited, and as you know, Peggy Lehner is term limited. They want to get this done now. They're so energized, especially Rep. Patterson, who started this journey some 6 or 7 years ago. He's a retired school teacher from Ashtabula area. So we appreciate their leadership. What the Fair School Funding Plan does once and for all is it takes this entirely difficult, haphazard school funding formula is not equitable in distribution. It's not equitable in base cost or any categoricals like special ed or gifted or even transportation for that matter. And it makes it very simple in its approach. And while the simplicity in the approach and the efficiency of how this formula works, like I said, the legislators have been working on it for 6 and 7 years. I've been working on base cost for 3 with my superintendent partner, Tom Hostler from Perrysburg. And there's been 7 other superintendents and treasurers who've been working on the categoricals and the state and local share for the past 3 years. So we are so excited to bring this to market, so to speak, but it answers 2 really important questions that seems pretty simple at the top, but we've solved the equation. Now it's time for how do we fund it and how do we keep it sustainable into the future? What does every child need today to succeed, and what does every district need today to operate? And I know you've seen this form before, and you're going to be getting a ton of information over the next week and maybe up to and including Finance Committee next week. But this is the base cost. And just a quick summary here. There's not a treasurer in the state of Ohio that knows what the $6,000 we get today buys us. And it's really hard for a practitioner to advise boards, work with superintendents, work with communities and say, this is what your tax dollars go to exactly. Now we can say this. We can say this with the absolute clarity that 75% of this money goes directly into the classroom for the teacher-class ratio and the instructional and student supports, then building leadership and operations, and then some accountability measures. It frames the situation. This isn't going to change the need for the local partnership. That's the state and local share. It is still a shared responsibility in Ohio, and local property taxes are still going to be needed. They're just going to be needed less frequently. So if we get this formula right, we get it into law, we get it comprehensively into law, this will extend a district's ability to come back and ask for levies and stretch that out to a more reasonable time frame so that school district communities are paying for what programs they want to see in place. just not because it's quote unquote our turn, just not because it's 3 to 5 years, right? At this point, we're stretching it to 8, possibly 9 years in Akron, where our average had been 6. So we're overdue, and this is something we're desperately looking forward to. Like I said, there were 7 other superintendents and 7 other treasurers who partnered in areas like poverty, preschool, special ed, gifted, and English learners. One of the very important components of this bill that we fought hard for was first dollar funding gets funded for economically disadvantaged. So even though this is a 6-year phase-in of a plan, the first dollars that get funded and fully funded in year 1 is economically disadvantaged, those children who need it the most. I've included these slides in an email to you so you can peruse them at your leisure. There's our simulation. There's a couple important concepts, even though this is a detailed spreadsheet. Starting with the county, the district, and the IRN, right after that is a really important concept. You see formula ADM versus enrolled ADM. This is a brand new model of funding schools. It's funded where enrolled. We are no longer responsible for tracking the students that do not come to Akron Public Schools. Those transfers of open enrollment, community and charters, non-publics, and other choice options. We're no longer the fiscal agent for them in the state of Ohio. And that's refreshing because that creates such anxiety between those institutions. They will be directly funded. They will be directly funded on a model much like what we've designed in a fair and equitable forum for them. And then if we look to the far right, even though that's a large dollar amount, the 39 million, that's not all at one time. That's a 6-year phase-in that will take some time. And to put it into perspective, what that looks like, the governor's success and wellness funds, even though this bill carries a $1.9 billion price tag, the success and wellness funds that the governor set aside this last biennium would have got us our first 2 years bought into this model. So we know it's absolutely doable. The timeline for this, as you can see, is really tight. If you look at the fourth bullet point down, we're now heading into testimony in both the House and Senate chambers, literally hours apart. There's 3 and 4 hour opportunity for testimony. I will be giving leadoff testimony tomorrow in the Senate and or Wednesday if it needs to get rescheduled. And then you'll see between Thanksgiving and then the General Assembly going home for this calendar year in lame duck is December 15th. So that's where the ask is. We do not have a school funding formula that's tied to anything. I've been doing this for 16 years, and there's no math behind the current formula. Every district in the state of Ohio is not on a formula. We're 100% guaranteed. We fund this by what students actually need, and more importantly, is the state and local share now is accurately reflecting a community's ability to participate. That's right. For the first time now, we're counting residents' income as a community's ability to participate. No longer is this Summit County where the highest effective tax rate is a school district to our northeast, which makes sense, but one of the higher effective tax rates in the county is ours. And it doesn't make sense with one of the lower median incomes in the state of Ohio. So we get that part right. We will need your help. I want to make sure I open it up for any questions, but we will need your help in contacting senators, House of Representative members, and asking the Ohio School Boards Association, which just sent out an email in support of the Fair School Funding Plan a few minutes ago. And we thank them for that support. Ask them how we can help. If you want to be a part of letter writing campaigns, if you want to be a part of testimony, I will absolutely help you write that. And it's going to be fast and furious in the next few weeks. That's going to have to take place. So with that, I'll pause and open it up for any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Pendleton. And as we open it up for questions and comments, I'll kick it off with a quick one. And I don't know that I've asked this before. How often is the community's ability to pay, and in particular the residents' income, how often is this reevaluated?
The bill has the designation of a commission of both parents and community members, school practitioners, legislators, school experts to come together every biennium and evaluate models. And one of the examples we give is, and not to make light of the scenario, it's an actual real thing that we're living with. Imagine there's a global pandemic. Imagine if there's tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars infused into school districts for technology purposes. We now have mechanisms to take out the component of technology, study it, refresh it, modernize it, and put it back into the formula to make it work seamlessly.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Alexander.
Yes, thanks, Ryan, for the information. And we all know that funding of schools, public schools, has always been wrong. It's been considered unconstitutional, and it continues to be. And we do need to find a better way to fund education for our students, because it's not fair to have this be on the backs all the time of taxpayers to pay for the education of our students. Although I know our taxpayers care, and that's what they do. They step up to the plate and to make sure our students can get the funding they needed to help them have a good educational experience. But my question is to ask you, do you have a list of individuals, whether it be senators, state representatives, anyone else that in their information who we may need to contact? 'Cause I'd like to have that information and be able to start contacting those individuals so that we can let them know that we need their support. And if there's anything that we need to specifically relay to them, that I would like for you to give me that information as well, so I can start
Absolutely.
that process.
I will
Thank
forward a list of senators tonight that we are targeting. We have 68 sponsors in the House. We're very confident in the House that this will be voted out in support. We have 16 sponsors in the Senate. As you know, there's 33 senators, and we need additional senators. So I'll send you a list of the senators in that list, just so you know. It'll have their contact information, and it'll have all their member school districts, because we're going to be making lots of phone calls and emails this week. So appreciate any and all help.
Okay, thank you.
Good question, Bruce. Dr. Eck?
Yes, I'm sorry. I meant to put my note in the chat, but one of the things I've been thinking about with this bill is the guarantee for early childhood. Can you talk about that funding and what difference that would make for a district like Akron?
Absolutely. As I mentioned, some of the first dollar funding is in economically disadvantaged. One of the components of economically disadvantaged is every economically disadvantaged 4-year-old is guaranteed a free year of preschool. And this does a couple things for Akron and across the state of Ohio. It's obviously recognizing an immense need that needs a huge infusion of resources. And when I mean an infusion of resources, I don't just mean money. As Superintendent James knows, the board knows that preschool is governed by outside agencies other than the K-12. There's a study funded in this economically disadvantaged study that says, here's the overlapping agencies that provide preschool, and how do we help become more efficient and coordinate those efforts? I think that's just as important as the funding component of it. But hopefully that answers your question about every economically disadvantaged 4-year-old is guaranteed 1 year of preschool.
It does. Thank you very much. As I think this board has shared how important early childhood is for this community. That guarantee part just really caught my eye. So I'm glad to be able to have you give us more information on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Mansfield.
Just real quick, just want to give another shout out to Ryan. You and I, a few years ago, when I was the Board of Trustees rep to OSBA, we didn't know if we would get here, and to have them send that email out is huge. And I think that's in no small part due to the groundwork that you all have laid and the spreading out across the state to explain like you have, you and the team, taking it district by district when they had questions. I think about when it was a couple of years ago when it was first introduced, they were very skeptical. So to see that go out is just another testament to the hard work that's been laid to make this happen. So again, lean on us and let's get this done. And it will be so nice to be able to go out and to be able to explain to people in terms that make sense what the finance plan is for the state and how we fund schools, because you start to explain it and you talk about the guarantee and who's on and who's off, and people are like, well, if you don't want to tell me, just don't tell me.
That's right.
No, that's really it. Sorry, it's
That's pretty good.
But that's how I've had people actually say that, if you just don't want to explain it, just don't bother. But it's like, no, that's really it. So thank you again.
Thank you.
And here I thought we got the email because I was sending direct questions in our OSBA conference in the different sessions, and I was like screenshotting them and sending them to Mr. Pendleton saying, see, look, we're asking.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Anyone else?
That does set up, if there's any other questions, that does set up possibly for new business, the inclusion of a resolution to pass. So I'm really excited to see OSBA sent one out with their advocacy call. I do think it's great timing, but obviously this is a board's discretion. But not to put some pressure on you, but time is essential.
And when we do get there, there is a resolution in your board docs. And actually, it was sent out to us via email, so I think you all had it ahead of time. But when we get there, we'll entertain a motion for that resolution as well. Anything else, Mr. Pendleton?
That concludes my report. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you. We'll move on to committee reports. And first up is legal contracts and board policy.
Yes. Legal contracts and board policy. We have had 2 meetings this month, and we're going to have another meeting soon to work on our racial equity policy, which we hope to bring before all of you next month. So please, if you haven't provided any feedback to us, Bruce and myself Miss Alexander and myself are both looking forward to your information and feedback. But tonight we also have before you for the 3rd and final reading the revised policies 5611 regarding due process rights. And you should have received that in board docs. And we will hopefully open that up for a vote today for final passage of that policy. Bruce, do you have anything else? Oh, looks like Bruce fell off.
Yeah, let's take one here.
Yeah, it always happens when you turn it over to the person, right?
Right. All right, Bruce, welcome back. Dr. Akron, just asking if you had anything to add after reading the policy.
No, I think he did a good job. I think everything that he mentioned that we've been working very hard on the policy committee, and we were glad to have our board members too who have been present to attend, because there's been some very good, robust discussion, and it's been very good to help with our development of our. But other than that, I make motion that we receive the 3rd reading of the policy.
Thank you. We have a motion from Mr. Alexander. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Mrs. McKittrick. Any comments, questions, or discussion on policy 5611 due process rights? Hearing and seeing none, roll call, please.
Dr. Hall?
Aye.
Mrs. Mansfield,
Yes.
Mrs. McKittrick,
Yes.
Dr. Ekbar,
Yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Yes.
Ms. Autry,
Yes.
Mr. Bravo.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Finance and Capital Management.
Hi, we have no report. We'll be meeting finance next week. Thank you.
It'll be a very busy meeting. A lot of good stuff on there. Instructional policy and student achievement.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have 2 updates. First, we'd like to ask Dr. McWilliams-Woods to give a quick update on the progress of the plans to launch the site-based support approved by the board at our last meeting. And everyone's calling this site-based support Remote Plus, where students will be identified to come in for small group intervention and support. Dr. McWilliams-Woods.
Thank you, Mrs. McKittrick. Just to give you a quick update on our progress, we are making good progress to meet the deadline of starting to bring students in on November 30th. What we're doing this week is securing all of the teachers who will be covering the site-based support. Surveys went out starting last Friday and today to all of our teachers to start to confirm who's going to be coming in. And then the following week, we'll be starting to notify families, but that's a short week going into those next 2 weeks. So we'll be notifying all of the families and identifying which families would like to have their students come in and mapping out the transportation. We will be we'll be transitioning sort of like we do at the beginning of the year, where we'll start with the high school on November 30th. And then we're picking some kind of the early implementers at the elementary and middle school to start on November 30th, just to get some of the safety protocols in. And then all the other students will start on December 7th. So it's kind of a rolling start, starting November 30th, high school, and then some pilot kind of sites at the elementary, middle, and our students with more significant disabilities in our preschool, just to make sure we work through all the protocols. And then those teachers will help train the other teachers that will start on December 7th, that following week. And that way we'll have plenty of time to line up all the transportation and notify all the families to confirm who's coming in. Also this week on Wednesday, we'll be posting on our website the details about each of the levels and what that schedule is going to look like for that small group intervention. And we'll be sure to send that out to all the board members before it gets posted on the website, but we'll start the broader communication at that point. And that's all I have. Back to Mrs. Mansfield and Mrs. McKittrick.
Real quick, Dr. McWilliams-Woods, can you just clarify one thing about that? I know we talked about how students would be identified through teachers and through data and through principals for who needs help. Can you clarify, will we be able, or do we know at this point if we'll be able to have parents self-identify students to come forward that they feel are struggling?
Yeah, it'll be a process through we've really very much not wanted this at all to be that the district establishes some, very clear, specific, 3 bullet points that you must have this kind of test score, or some very concrete, this is the only criteria of who can come in. Because the overarching criteria is who are the students who are struggling in this remote environment and who need that site-based intervention. We are having intervention every single day. Remotely, teachers and tutors and intervention specialists are providing intervention all over the city. So that's happening, but this is unique because who needs either that academic support, or it could be that social emotional support to come in a small group setting with a teacher to be able to provide that support. So that's really the only overarching criteria. Then we're handing it off to the teachers who are working with the families and the students to work collaboratively to know and identify who needs to come in. Ultimately, we're leaving it in the hands of the professional learning communities, the teachers and the principals. But obviously, these days, teachers and families are working every single day because, as I always say, we're in the families' living rooms every day now, right? So that interaction, communication with the families is very tight.
I appreciate that. I know that there's been some question of that. And I know Dr. Akbar talked about the families that we're hearing from. I've got a friend here who wants to help with the meeting, who we're hearing from folks who this is working for. We're still also hearing from the ones it's not. And there are some in between, but we want to acknowledge that, that those folks are out there and that, you know, I do believe there is help now, but that more help is coming. And I'm really thrilled about that. So thank you.
Absolutely. I think this is a great first step. I will say now for everyone to start to wrap your head around, and this always happens as soon as we're ready to launch the next step, we already have to start talking about the second semester. So we will be coming over the next 2 board meetings just to talk through the decision, probably before the holidays, before the winter break, on what is going to happen second semester, and that starts January 19th.
Mr. Bravo, before I go on, do you want to go ahead and take questions? I see Dr. Akbar has one.
Sure.
Should we go ahead? Okay.
Sure. Let's go ahead and do that, Dr. Akbar.
So, one, I love everything you said. I'm wondering about those parents who may have said no first, that they weren't interested, and then later, let's say we get back in January, and they decide, you know what, my kid may need it. You know, my teacher, my teacher decided they wanted to do it before, and I said no, but now I changed my mind. Are they allowed to do that?
Yes, I'm actually so glad you brought that up because the family survey that we did before, when we were gauging the families who wanted to bring their children in, if you all decided on a blended model, that really is off to the side right now because we're going to be individually calling every single student and family to talk through this remote plus and the opportunity to come in for specific tutoring and intervention. And then, so it doesn't matter what they said previously on the survey, because this is a new plan, a new model. This is unique in small group. And so we want to have a fresh decision for every family. I'm so glad you brought that up because that's important to have everybody understand that.
Yeah. Just one follow-up. I'm sorry. I wasn't talking about the first survey, but I'm glad you did mention that. I'm saying for a family member who, you know, the teacher calls and says, or whoever calls, I don't know who's calling, but someone calls and says your son or daughter were identified, may need this APS plus intervention service, and they say, no, you know what, still not interested in my kid being in the school building, we're gonna pass, and then later decide, you know what, I think we need to actually do it. So that's what I was asking.
Absolutely. Yeah, it will never be just a permanent no. It may be that the teachers are looking at bringing students in, and it may be for this 2 or 3 week period or a 4-week period, and then the next opportunity would come next. At different grade levels are looking at kind of different groupings of students that way. But if a family says no at the beginning, they certainly can have that opportunity the next time, that it comes up, if the student still has that need when they get to the next wave of intervention.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay,
Question here, Mr. President.
Dr. Hall, go ahead.
Yeah. Apologies if this question's already been asked and answered, but just want to make sure I've got it straight. So have we done any projections as to sort of the total number of students that we're talking about? I think I asked the last board meeting if there was going to be a cap on the number of students that would be eligible for being brought back for additional intervention and services.
Yeah, all the professional learning communities right now, the groups of teachers, they are identifying students as we speak. You know, that's all happening in synchronously with the identification of the number of teachers too. So both of that's happening at the same time. When we look at how many students that teachers would love to bring in, you know, that's going to be a large group. If you ever ask how many students need intervention, obviously we're going to have to line up how many teachers volunteer for that site-based support. We may be able to fill in with some additional staff, some substitute teachers, other volunteers, as much as we can, but the total number is going to be absolutely contingent on how many volunteers we get to do that support. So we'll be able to give you data on here's how many teachers volunteered, here's how many students we're able to accommodate coming in. And then, you know, we're not asking teachers to identify every single student at this point because it is going to be based on the number of faculty.
Okay, so I follow that we're not asking them to identify everybody. How many are we asking them to identify to start? 3, 5, 6?
There, per faculty member, there's not going to be more than 8 students in the classroom at a time. We didn't want to go up to the max because this is really designed for small group. So it's no more than 8 students in a classroom.
Okay, gotcha. And then you mentioned that you're still waiting to hear on how many teachers are going to volunteer, et cetera. When do you expect to have that information, those numbers, those counts?
That's all due this week, so we'll have it by Friday.
Okay, all right, fantastic. All right, looking forward to hearing about that. Thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Ms. Mansfield?
Okay. So next, I'd like to thank the board for attending our special board meeting this past week with presentations from Mark Black and Rachel Tecca regarding the master plan for the middle school, college, and career academy transformation. Just to remind you, on the 23rd, the Finance Committee will be reviewing the middle school budget. On the 24th, the Instructional Policy and Student Achievement Committee are doing a final review of the master plan and budget. And on the 30th is when there'll be a resolution that comes before this board on the 5-year master plan. So feel free to drop into any of those meetings if you have questions or if you want to hear more. And if any board member has additional questions, please reach out to Dr. McWilliams-Woods or to one of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the report. All right, at this time then, we will move to new business. And first up is item 30.1. Which is resolution 20-160, a resolution to approve a memorandum of understanding between the Akron Board of Education and the Akron Education Association, and the materials are in your board packet along with a summary. Did we have any comments from staff, or did we want to entertain a motion?
I think entertaining a motion, Dr. McWilliams-Woods or Kathy McVeigh could address any questions if there are any.
And at this time, we'll entertain a motion for that resolution.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
A motion from Mrs. McKittrick, a second from Mr. Alexander. Any comments, questions, or discussion? Hearing and seeing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Mansfield,
Yes.
Mrs. McKittrick,
Yes.
Dr. Akbar,
Yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Yes.
Ms. Autry,
Yes.
Mr. Bravo,
Yes.
Dr. Hall,
Abstain.
thank you.
And under item 30.2 in your board packet, a resolution to endorse the Fair School Funding Plan is introduced in the Senate Companion Bill to substitute House Bill 305 and to encourage the 133rd General Assembly to expedite the passage of the bill. I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
It's all over the place, Mr. Pendleton. Take your pick.
I took them all.
We have multiple motions and multiple seconds. Are there any comments, questions, or discussion on this?
I think that means heck yeah.
Hearing and seeing no further discussion on this item, roll call, please.
Mrs. McKittrick,
Yes.
Dr. Akbar,
Emphatically yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Full show, yes.
Miss Autry,
Yes.
Dr. Hall,
Definitely aye.
Mrs. Mansfield.
Yes, for sure, yes.
I love it. Thank you.
Do I get a vote?
Mr. Bravo.
Yes. Just for that.
I forgot you. I messed up too tonight. I'm sorry.
That's right. All right. And with that, we are ready. We do have one item for executive session tonight. We are not anticipating, do not plan on any action after executive session. But we do have a need pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22G1 to consider a personnel matter, the evaluation of a public employee or official of the school district, and we'll entertain a motion.
So move.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion from Mr. Alexander, a second from Dr. Akbar. Roll call, please.
Dr. Akbar,
Yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Yes.
Miss Autry, she fall off.
I'm looking now.
She is not there.
All right, well then let's back up just a moment.
And she's back.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, Ms. Autry, to enter executive session pursuant to Revised Code Section 121.22G1 to consider the evaluation of a public employee or official of the district. And we are doing roll call.
Miss Autry,
Yes.
Mr. Bravo,
Yes.
Dr. Hall,
Aye.
Mrs. Mansfield,
Yes.
Mrs. McKittrick,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you. And if everyone could please remember to fully exit out of this and join the session, we'll return in just a little bit with action to follow. Thank you. Good evening and welcome back. We just returned from executive session to our regular meeting of the Akron Public Schools Board of Education for Monday, November 16th, 2020. There is no other business to come before this board, so at this time we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. We are adjourned. Have a good evening.
Thanks all.
Good night. Good night.
Thanks. Good night.